to have Cornwall and Kent by King Arthur's days, after all England, after the days of King Arthur. Chapter 4. How by misadventure of an adder the battle began, where Mordred was slain, and Arthur hurt to the death. Then were they condescended that King Arthur and Sir Mordred should meet betwixt both their hosts, and every each of them should bring 14 persons. And they came with this word unto King Arthur. Then said he, I am glad that this is done. And so he went into the field. And when Arthur should depart, he warned all his host that an they see any sword drawn, look ye come on fiercely, and slay that traitor Sir Mordred, for I in no wise trust him. In likewise Sir Mordred warned his host that, and ye see any sword drawn, look that ye come on fiercely, and so slay all that ever before you standeth. For in no wise I will not trust for this treaty, for I know well my father will be avenged upon me. And so they met as their appointment was, and so they were agreed and accorded thoroughly, and wine was fetched, and they drank. Right so came an adder out of a little heath bush, and it stung a knight on the foot. And when the knight felt him stungen, he looked down and saw the adder, and then he drew his sword to slay the adder, and thought of none other harm. And when the host on both parties saw that sword drawn, then they blew beamers, trumpets, and horns, and shouted grimly. And so both hosts dressed them together, and King Arthur took his horse and said, Alas, this unhappy day! And so rode to his party, and Sir Mordred in likewise. And never was there seen a more doleful a battle in no Christian land, for there was but rushing and riding, foining and striking, and many a grim word was there spoken either to other, and many a deadly stroke. But ever King Arthur rode throughout the battle of Sir Mordred many times, and did full nobly as a noble king should, and at all times he fainted never. And Sir Mordred that day put him in devoir, and in great peril. And thus they fought all the long day, and never stinted, till the noble knights were laid to the cold ground. And ever they fought still, till it was near night, and by that time there was 100,000 laid dead upon the down. Then was Arthur wroth out of measure, when he saw his people so slain from him. Then the king looked about him, and then was he ware of all his host, and of all his good knights were left no more alive but 2 knights. That was Sir Lucan de Butlere and his brother Sir Bedivere, and they were full sore wounded. Jesu mercy, said the king, where are all my noble knights becomen? Alas, that ever I should see this doleful day! For now, said Arthur, I am come to mine end. But would to God that I wist where were that traitor Sir Mordred, that hath caused all this mischief. Then was King Arthur where Sir Mordred leaned upon his sword among a great heap of dead men. Now give me my spear, said Arthur unto Sir Lucan, for yonder I have espied the traitor that all this woe hath wrought. Sir, let him be, said Sir Lucan, for he is unhappy, and if ye pass this unhappy day, ye shall be right well revenged upon him. Good Lord, remember ye of your night's dream, and what the spirit of Sir Gawaine told you this night. Yet God of his great goodness hath preserved you hitherto. Therefore, for God's sake, my lord, leave off by this. For blessed be God ye have won the field, for here be we 3 on live, and with Sir Mordred is none on live. And if ye leave off now, this wicked day of destiny is past. Tide me death, betide me life, saith the king. Now I see him yonder alone, he shall never escape mine hands. For at a better avail I shall never have him. God speed you well, said Sir Bedivere. Then the king gat his spear in both hands, and ran towards Sir Mordred, crying, Traitor, now is thy death day come. And when Sir Mordred heard Sir Arthur, he ran until him with his sword drawn in his hand. And then King Arthur smote Sir Mordred under the shield with a foin of his spear throughout the body, more than a fathom. And when Sir Mordred felt that he had his death's wound, he thrust himself, with the might that he had, up to the burr of King Arthur's spear. And right so he smote his father Arthur with his sword holden in both his hands on the side of the head, that the sword pierced the helmet and the brain-pan. And therewithal Sir Mordred fell stark dead to the earth. And the noble Arthur fell in a swoon to the earth, and there he swooned oft times. And Sir Lucan de Butlere and Sir Bedivere oft times heaved him up. And so weakly they led him betwixt them both to a little chapel not far from the seaside. And when the king was there, he thought him well eased. Then heard they people cry in the field. "Now go thou, Sir Lucan," said the king, "and do me to wit what betokens that noise in the field." So Sir Lucan departed, for he was grievously wounded in many places. And so as he went, he saw and hearkened by the moonlight how the pillars and robbers were come into the field to pill and to rob many a full noble knight of brooches and beads, of many a good ring, and of many a rich jewel. And who that were not dead all out, there they slew them for their harness and their riches. When Sir Lucan understood this work, he came to the king as soon as he might, and told him all what he had heard and seen. "Therefore, by mine advice," said Sir Lucan, "it is best that we bring you to some town." "I would it were so," said the king. Chapter 5.